shot here on Penny for a Tale. We are here with Staffan, who will be the GM tonight. As you can see, real quick, will be using Roll20 tonight. And the title of this scenario is called The Shooting Party, if I got that right. No sponsors tonight, but this game is by Modifius, so make sure you check out their website, and make sure tomorrow we will be premiering Brotherhood of Shadows, which will be game mastered by Pope, over here on Penny for a Tale, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as well. So I'm not going to talk anymore. I'm going to turn it over to Staffan to introduce himself. Then we'll go down to James and then Doc.
Well, good evening, folks. And for the start of what's going to be a series of 2 shots of Chaosium's Call of Cthulhu 7th edition games, taken from their back library of convention games of previous years. Tonight I have a wonderful cast of investigators ready to pit their wits against all manner of perfectly normal and sane occurrences. So, why don't we start off a little bit with who people are playing and what they're doing. So, James, over to you.
Hi, my name is James Glass. You might recognize me from our Star Wars stream with Sam, Alex, and Daniel. I've also been playing Waldorf Skysteel on the Age of Ashes campaign on Sunday nights with Ian. I am so happy to be here and getting to play with Sam this time instead of having her try to kill me and failing. So I expect to die tonight because I've been told that it's rare that we survive 2 in a row.
Listen. Over to you.
Yep. Thanks.
Oh,
hi, I'm Doc.
I forgot to say,
yeah,
I'll be playing George Littleton. Sorry. Forgot that part.
Okay. Hi, I'm Doc. I'm Doc Rimbo on Twitter and other places. Justin also. I'm Justin. I use he or they pronouns interchangeably. And let's see, where would you know me from? I've been on several series over on what used to be Encounter Roleplay, now Weave the Tale. And so I'm excited to be over on this half of the Penny Network. And excited to play Call of Cthulhu, which I've hardly ever played before. And so I'm really excited to explore this with all of you. And I'm playing Alfred Tomkins. And I guess all you need to know about Alfred is he's an artist, and he is, like me, very, very handsome and charming.
Indeed.
Let's see. I guess I should introduce my character.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey guys, I'm Sam. I will be playing the Miss Maude Vanderbelt tonight. And she is better than everyone else here on the screen, so I'm excited to do that persona.
Very well. And I guess a quick idea of who George Littleton is.
George is a gamekeeper. Studied at Oxford for a bit, and then was the war kind of interrupted that. So he served as a soldier, where he was injured and came home with a limp and some internal scars that you can't see. He is, so he is a former soldier and current gamekeeper of the estate.
Wonderful. Well, you have all known Oliver Plunkett for many years and have eagerly accepted his invitation for a weekend shoot at his family home on Exmoor in England, in the southwest. On arrival at Hillcote House this morning, a young maid and a dour-looking housekeeper take your luggage before you climb into Oliver's Vulcan omnibus. big enough to carry. Yeah, that should do. Big enough to carry everyone, and drive on to the moors for the first shoot. You have the chance to admire the wooded Coombe Valley on the slow drive up to the moor above. Oliver bores everyone senseless about the best ways to manage grouse, but still you sense him somewhat distracted. You recall how Oliver's inheritance of Hillcote followed the tragic death during the last year of the war of his elder brother Howard and his sister Susan's husband, Maurice MacDonald. His father died of grief on hearing of the news of the two deaths. The first shoot is disappointing, with only a few birds brought down. Over lunch, you meet some of the beaters, all local men from nearby farms and villages, with West Country accents you struggle to understand. After a few drinks to keep out the cold, you take a position along the edge of the moor. The party strung out in 3 groups about 10 yards apart. Oliver's old friend and new gamekeeper, George Littleton, acts as his loader. The American socialite, Maude Vanderbelt, has brought along her private secretary, Dexter Brown, who looks like he lives in an office. Ernest Truscott, an old university friend of Oliver, jokes with actress Rhoda Madison over who is the best shot, while the young artist Alfred Tomkins offers to load for the pair of them. From the woods behind the moorland stretches out towards a ridge, behind which you hear the approaching beaters. The light is beginning to fade, and you hope for some more birds before calling it a day. Your prayer are answered as several coveys break cover and fly towards your guns. So we get to start off straight away with a little bit of combat, although it is just grouse shooting. So in the scheme of things, I see that Alfred is going to be first up, having basically loaded for his pair. He's got his own shotgun with him. Basically, you've got 2 barrels, so you could fire 1 barrel. You could fire 2 barrels, but the second would involve having a penalty die. So yes, what do you want to do?
So, because I'm difficult, Alfred raises his gun, and you see him try to take aim a little bit at these birds, and then his hands shake just a little bit, and just before the other guns go off, you sort of hear him shout, "Bang!" But he doesn't pull the trigger, and he doesn't fire at all.
Very well. Next up is Rhonda, who is going to... Once I find her, there we go.
Well, isn't she lovely?
Indeed. Who is just going to fire a normal shot. And does indeed bring up 1 bird down. I quickly need to done this ahead of time, but you need to be. You can push. Well, okay. It's a covey of 5 birds, of which Rhonda has brought down 1. Next up comes Ernest. Oop. You can take that off if you want. That was a miskey by me. I apologize for that. Ernest misses, much to Rhoda, much to the seeming Schadenfreude of Rhoda, who gives a, well, maybe you'll have better luck next time comment. And Ernest replies with a modest, oh, well, ladies first and all that, don't you know? Let's see. Now, next up, we have Maude.
Yes. Well, you know, I've been hunting out in the savannah. There's nothing quite like it, but I'm sure this will be just as simple. As she, despite her fancy looks, will raise up the gun with some sort of confidence and air about her. And let's see here. Is it the purple or the green?
If you're just shooting the one shot, it'll be the green. And just to say, if you scroll down, there is a combat section underneath the skills that has the firearms listed so that they'll do the damage and everything else all at once. Which is just... Exactly. Ooh! Yep, you definitely blow one of the remaining 4 out of the air with... straight down to the dogs it goes.
Yeah, she sort of flips her hair, like, and that's how it's done, boys.
Next on the turn order is your esteemed secretary, Mr. Brown, who's been looking at Miss Vanderbelt as she confidently brings up and fires her gun, and he sort of looks a little bit less confident in his firearm handling, but and he misses. And finally, at the end, mainly due to the fact that due to him not having the fastest reactions due to his war wound, is George.
George, he, for a moment, considers not firing, but after that crack shot by Maude, he feels a bit challenged. And so he casts a glance at her and then brings his weapon up and fires. And you said the green is just one and the purple is both?
Yes.
So he will fire one barrel.
Okay. Ooh, yes, that's possibly the widest of, well... Yep, that's possibly the widest.
Distracted a bit by Maude.
Weren't
She
we
just
all?
gives a small smile.
It's just not my day today, boys.
I could teach you if you'd like.
Since everybody basically has...
As well.
Since everybody basically has a round left in their barrels...
I would like to reload that one shot, if that's all right.
Okay. Absolutely. You could take the round to do it, or you could essentially try to fast load it and be able to even fire off both if you so wanted to.
Okay. I'll just take the round to do it.
Okay. Cool. So back up to Arthur and his double-loaded barrels.
Yes.
It's another 4 bird spray cover.
Another 4 come out, and he's just sort of watches them and admires their grace and beauty. That's it.
Very well. Rhonda is enjoying herself spectacularly and is going to go for a double shot. Well, no, she's only got 1 in the barrel, so she can't. So she's just going to go for 1. But, yeah, one of the ones that barely breaks cover before she's got it. It one of the dogs is heard yelping after the fallen body. Ernest, not wanting to be outdone, but currently bringing up the rear in the scoring, as it were. Ernest lets out a "Oh, I say," as his gun jams. And he's going to have to spend a bit of time clearing and so forth.
Yes, I think that happened to my gun as well. It didn't fire properly.
Would you like me to have a look at it for you, sir?
Oh, no, I'm sure I could. How complicated could these things be?
You'd be surprised.
I'm sure. I'll just hold it like this. I like the way it sort of gives me a presence. Then stares off again in the distance.
Maude. It's been surprisingly silent this round, apart from various of the gentlemen trying to be gentlemanly about their cursing.
Just a little quiet. More like she has been watching her compatriots, just trying to see what they're doing. Ernest, I just feel like he's hopelessly inept at everything, so she just sort of rolls his eyes at everything he tries to do. But she'll look over at George, who challenged her earlier and failed.
It wasn't a challenge.
No, it wasn't at all.
Hey!
Let's see here. And she will fire again. But is it a purple this time?
No, it's the purple is only for the second round. You fire in the same round, as it were.
Gotcha. So looking at Ernest or at George the entire time, she will fire again.
And yet again, straight through, clean shot through the body of one of the grouse. Not a feather scathed of the tail. Maude is definitely in the lead of the count, as it were.
You just pull the trigger. And small glances
I'm almost seeing Maude sort of casually just looking to the side to whoever she's talking about as she fires off the shot, and it just goes clean through.
That's what I pictured too.
Mm-hmm. Out hunting lions, as it were, it's a bit bigger prey than these.
Hey, I'm sorry. Most of my targets shoot back.
Well, at least you're here with us today.
That's Dexter.
Such a pleasure. He tips his hat to Maude, actually.
In the meanwhile, whilst the conversation is going on, nobody actually notices Dexter actually hitting a bird, other than the dog and the beaters, as it were. Yeah,
Just a private victory for Dexter.
Which brings us round to George, who's busy loading, I believe.
Actually, I'm gonna. It's double-barreled, so he would break the barrel, reload, and leave the barrel broken, so that it can't accidentally fire. And he just drapes it over his arm, And yeah, that's as he like tips his hat to Maude, and he says, you know, I know when I've been beaten. And I
Okay.
actually use the time to kind of like survey the area around us and just make sure that everybody's where they're supposed to be and nothing is amiss.
Other than Ernest, actually, that's a good point. Does Ernest have? That's okay. He can just take time. He's landed gentry. He can clear a shotgun given a little bit of time. Just roll his attack to see how bad. Oh, given a little bit more time than he usually needs. Maybe that brandy was a little bit. Well, it's just chilly. He's got his fingers fumble a little bit trying to clear the chambers. Obviously, perhaps it's a bit colder out here in. I should have said yes. The date is the 29th of November, 1928.
Ah. Is there any way that I can assist him with his weapon?
Oh, absolutely. You walk up there and sort of offer your assistance, and
I am the gamekeeper after all.
indeed. And Ernest very gladly hands over the gun. Just make a rifle attack roll.
Or firearms?
Firearms rifle or the shotgun attack. Green.
Green?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. Obviously, he's just that little bit fumbly fingered with frozen fingers or something. Or just a complete dilettante, incompetent. But now
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Indeed, as any good employee of a grouse shooting estate would.
Not going to embarrass the Lord himself.
And so Alfred, staring off, looking at the.
Okay, well, he saw George sort of break his shotgun, and so he's going to do the same, and he's pretending to inspect it, as he sort of like just holds it over his arm and looks down. And I think whenever Maude and George are far enough apart, he'll walk over to George and say, "Oh, she's wonderfully terrifying, isn't she?"
Oh, in the best ways.
Oh my goodness! Now, as you're the gamekeeper, is your job easier now that you have fewer birds to keep because some of them are dead?
It's a bit of a misnomer. I don't really keep them. I just kind of keep an eye on them. It's more of the
they should.
It's more of the people that I have to worry about than the birds.
See.
And
well,
hopefully
people
we don't
are
lose
their
any
own
of those today.
sort of game, I suppose.
He
Yes,
gets that like 1,000-yard stare for just like a second.
And so does Alfred, but Alfred's is completely different because he's just daydreaming.
He kind of snaps back. He's like, "Hey, you can call me Little. That's what all my friends in the army called me. I kind of got used to it.
I don't have a nickname. Alfred is fine, I suppose.
Alfred,
Is it
it's a pleasure
Mr.
to make
Little,
your acquaintance.
just Mr. Little, just Little.
Just Little is fine.
Right, Little. Very good. Okay. Well, here, and he hands his gun over to George. Just sort of like puts it in his arms. He's like, "Won't be needing that."
So George would, I guess, close his shotgun and prop it against a nearby tree or something, and take Alfred's and take a look at it. Are you handing it to him to inspect, or
Just so I don't have to hold it anymore.
Oh, all right.
He doesn't
no
want
problem.
Like, yeah, so you can hold that for now. I'm not any good with it.
I can handle that for you. Absolutely.
Now you're a gunkeeper. Huh?
It's all part of the
job. Right.
I will actually unload Alfred's weapon as I take it from him and put the shells in a pocket, and then recover my weapon and then break the barrel again.
Seeing that George is taking the weapons, Maude will bring hers over as well and just sort of hold a hand out expectantly, like he needs to take this from her.
Milady. And he does so.
Right, well,
I'm getting quite the collection here. Is the day over already? You don't want to show us up anymore?
It is interesting that... there we go. Yeah. You do notice George... Oliver is already signaling to the beaters to start to gather round as the evening mists have started to rise from the peat and bogs of the moor, and it's
would I happen to have
starting to that's not unreasonable.
Flashlight.
Yeah. No, well, yeah. Oh, you've got a 6-foot piece of wood with tar and something on the top of it, and the cigarette lighter.
That'll do. That'll do.
Gather the troops, as it were. You do notice that the fog does seem to muffle the sounds of the beaters moving through the bush.
Would I be in charge of them?
As
the gamekeeper, would I be kind of
they would. Excuse me. They seem to be, as it were, directly in the hire of Oliver, Mr. Plunkett.
Very well.
So he's dealing with them. Yeah, he's basically paying them off and thanking them for the day's work. Saves me having to do the worst of the West Country. And you're gathering the guns when I guess the first thing you would have would be an opportunity for a hard listen roll. So green dice, but looking for hard or extreme.
Listen. Just barely.
So Alfred and Maude?
All of us.
Or is it?
Yeah, it's all right.
Okay. Ooh, everybody's ears are really working well today. Okay. So Maude is perhaps taken up more with trying to listen in to Oliver and his interplay with the local farmers as he's paying them off.
Yeah, whatever he's saying, she's listening to.
And but George and Alfred, you hear a rattling in something in the forest behind you, a rustling more like.
I would turn in the direction of the sound and raise my weapon. And
I would
Okay.
close
stand
the
behind
barrel.
George.
I would keep the barrel
Right.
pointed at like a 45-degree angle towards the ground, but definitely in the direction of the sound, ready to raise and fire.
Is this sound close to
Okay.
the ground? Like it's something in the bush?
And I put myself. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say to Doc's question, it's definitely leaves, dry leaves on the ground, kind of rustling.
That's,
I would definitely put
that's
myself
one of your-
between the party and the noise.
It's one of your beaters in there, little.
No, I believe those are all accounted for with
It's maybe a leftover bird, a fox.
Oliver. Just stay behind me and. I still have the torch, don't I? I would hand the torch to Alfred. Just hold this for a minute.
Okay. All right. Shall
Ready my
I
weapon.
point it in any particular direction?
No, just hold it high
Shine
so
it
I
where I
can
heard
see.
the sound.
I believe it's an actual
No,
torch.
no. Is this a torch or is this a British torch? So is this like a flash?
I believe-
This is a flashlight. I was being somewhat facetious
Oh.
with the wooden.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I would hold it up and sort of point it where I heard that noise coming from.
Thank you very much.
I'm helping.
Well, you're somewhat surprised, and to be fair, seemingly so are they, as you see two figures emerge from among the trees. One carries a long rifle that he raises to his shoulder, and the other stops and is staring wild-eyed at you. I'd like the two of you to roll spot hidden.
Would this be green or purple dye?
Either, but green is going to be the easier.
Oh yeah.
Does
Oh,
Maude notice
yeah.
anything yet? She's just taking.
Maud can roll a spot hidden as well.
oh my goodness!
Ooh.
Okay.
It's the
Alfred,
flashlight.
There's nothing no hiding anything from the players tonight. It's going to be one of those nights.
I don't know if I even need to roll now. Let's see.
And I would call out and tell them to hold where they are, and that,
Okay.
and to identify themselves.
You do see, Alfred and George in particular, they're both long-haired, dressed in heavy-looking work clothes and leather jerkins. Alfred and George are struck by the terror and absolute madness in their eyes. The three of you, at this point, Maude suddenly notices the two gentlemen. So all three of you can make a history roll.
My weapon is up now, by the way.
Okay, yep. Well, as is the long arm of the one.
Right. As when he raised his rifle to his shoulder, I raised my shotgun.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, so as you're shouting out, George is shouting out his challenge. It's counter-challenged by the man who isn't holding the gun. Who are you? Where are you from? And whom do you serve?
You're on the land of Lord Plunkett, and you need to identify yourself.
At this point, Oliver steps forward and says, I, sir, am the owner of Hillcote, and you would appear to be trespassing.
Lower
Do
your
not
weapon.
mention that cursed place. It is hell on earth, and the master of Hellcat is the devil himself. Kill them. They too serve the evil one.
My good heavens.
I fire.
Uh,
I'm kidding.
Let's see.
I didn't say that out loud.
So yes, there's basically
Throwing
Take a page out of
flashlight.
Alfred's book and just say bang.
Bang.
Go
Yep.
Alfred.
There's a lot of shouting to and fro, and the one man goes to raise up his rifle.
Lower your weapon, or I swear I'll take you down where you stand.
Okay, so
You
in
have to count to three.
order, let's have a look and see what these gentlemen are made out of.
Gosh, that's a
I am
terrifying
trying to make
quest.
sure that I am between them and the
And
ladies.
the rest of the group, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And also me.
admirable.
Maude has come up
I-
beside Oliver and is like feigning like she's scared.
Do I still her weapon? Where would I have put her weapon? 'Cause
Probably in the
I can't be
coach,
holding it.
I would imagine.
Just stay behind me, lass.
I don't understand where these men have come from.
Neither do I,
Is
but
this
I
part of
intend
the-
to
is this-
find out.
Is this a part of the party? Is this some sort of dramatic reenactment?
It is not, and I would suggest that you don't make any sudden moves and
Oh,
step back
yes.
very slowly.
Yes, of course. I'll play along.
Yes. Yes, play along and get behind me.
Ah, I will. Love performance art.
I've heard how good an artist you are. Is this something you would do?
Maybe we don't talk about this right now, but I would love to speak with you later about some of the art I'm capable of.
Just discussing art.
Maybe
Oh,
later.
Guest rooms.
Such a beautiful party, standing out on the Exmoor fog, kindly discussing art whilst being shot at
By two
Well, I
lunatics.
say.
Little hears none
Exciting.
of this. Like he is in he's back in
He's
the
got the red
in the
vision.
war.
back in the trenches
Yeah,
in
He's
the
got the
swamp,
blinders
absolutely.
on. He is
Well, first to go is the gentleman with the long arm, and a shot fires out just as the mists. The combined mists and the strange amount of gun smoke that his weapon produces basically rises up to obscure them. Oliver, at this point, stumbles over backwards, tripping over and discharges his two barrels into the air. Make a listen roll. Let's see if the perceptions can continue.
I say
Alfred,
when
of course.
Oliver falls backward.
you're too busy talking about art.
Maude will rush over to him, not paying attention.
Makes perfect sense. It is very quickly very evident that he has merely tripped over a stone outcropping and is quite all right. No sign of any gun wounds or anything. George and Alfred do hear running footsteps leading away back into the forest, and a final cry of "Fools! time is running out for the Master of Hillket.
Alfred would run also to check on Oliver and say, "Oh, goodness, Ollie, are you all right? You've taken a bit of a spill. You weren't hurt, were you?"
Oh, yes, it was quite all right, dear chap. Most embarrassing. Tripped over a stone, don't you know? Well, I guess that's what I get for not paying attention where my feet are.
Well, now your groundskeeper Little has told me that these men were not performance artists. Do you recognize them?
Oh,
Can
Yes.
I fire?
oh,
Sorry, I didn't interrupt.
sure. I mean, you can fire off a shot in the background. That's no problem.
I want to fire both barrels at exactly where the man with the rifle was standing.
Okay. So one green, one purple. Yep. And the penalty die fails, and the regular one. Okay, so 2 misses. The -1 being the penalty die line on the purple.
Hey,
set.
you better run! Reloading.
Despite that, Bot is just, oh, Oliver, you were so brave there. I didn't know what to do, even though it was George that had done everything.
Mm-hmm.
She's
Oh,
just like,
take all of the blame and none of the credit. Absolutely.
that's how it goes.
Oh, wait, thank you, Maude. It is all right that I still call you Maude, I hope.
Of course. We're friends here.
And Oliver will pick himself up, dust off his rather worn, now that you come to see it, tweeds, and sort of gather everybody back into the Vulcan for the drive down the River Valley Road as the sun sets, heading down into the Coombe Valley. And shortly afterwards, you turn into a lane towards the old bridge over the river, the single lane, rather rickety old bridge. To the question from Alfred of whether he knew the people involved, Oliver seems to sort of wave it off a bit with just trespassers. We've had a bit of a problem with them lately, but I wouldn't worry about it. We can talk over dinner.
Yes, dinner. Good. No, you've had these interlopers before.
Well, the reason I hired Mr. Littleton here is that there's been an increase in the number of poachers lately. What with the restocking of the grouse, and seems like it's just more of them, I would say.
I see. They're after you for your birdies.
Yes. Well,
Perhaps. That didn't sound
Mr.
like what they
Littleton
were
has done
saying. They seem to think it of the devil himself.
Mr. Littleton, just the words of crazy men.
I'm sure they were probably drunk. They probably are not drinking too much, and everyone looks like the devil.
I've seen that look before. That's not drink. That's madness.
Yeah.
Those men did not come home from wherever they went. I suggest that we get inside, sir, and make sure that everyone is safely indoors. I'll keep an eye out.
Right. Yes, and also dinner. We're going to
I'm
eat.
sure there's absolutely nothing to worry about. I agree with you, Mr. Tomkins. We should just convene for dinner.
As intelligent as you are, attractive.
If it's all right with you, Oliver, I'll do a check of the ground and just like walk around the manor house and
Okay. Yep. We'll
take a look. I've got my weapon. Actually, I've got both my shotgun and my sidearm with me. My Webley revolver, and so I've got the shotgun loaded and cocked, ready to fire. And I'll do just a perimeter check and make sure that nothing's amiss. If that's all right with you, Milo.
Oh, absolutely. Well, yes. Once we get down there, absolutely.
Feel free to start dinner without me.
Well, it's early times yet, and as you come across the bridge, across the river, the lights of Hillcote House visible up amongst the trees on the other side of the river.
Such a lovely view.
The single narrow lane winding its way up the valley.
I don't think I'll ever tire of that view.
Yeah. The house is reached by the narrow track that crosses the medieval bridge over the River Coombe, and about a half-mile later comes up to the house among scattered broadleaf copses. You're greeted by a distinctive Jacobean building, stone mullion windows, slate-hung roof. The house is set amongst walled gardens with servant quarters behind the main house and a coach house with stable and garage to one side. As you're coming up to the house, everybody can make history rolls. And I apologize for the size of this map. It's inordinately big.
No. Don't know.
Okay.
It's a very pretty house.
Oh, indeed.
Indeed.
Lots of windows.
Don't know a thing about it though.
Nope.
Quite a large house, you might say.
Yes. Suppose I haven't counted, but the number of rooms inside must be several.
Oh, it's certainly not Alfred's first visit to the manor house.
But I haven't counted. I don't pretend to be an expert in architecture.
It's a 20-some
Every
room
time I
mansion.
try to count, I come up with a different number.
Interesting. But first, dinner first.
Indeed. So you pass through the narrow gate in the low wall that surrounds the front gardens, a narrow path leading to a stone porch over which hangs a climbing wisteria, but this being November, it's without leaf. Engraved on the wall above the door is a coat of arms showing an hourglass over crossed swords and a Latin motto, Tempus Vincit Omnia. Inside the small... You know Latin. Oh, feel free to give it a roll if you want.
If
Or you
don't
can
mind
just
it.
try
Well,
to
he does.
translate my pronunciation.
While he does that, I will also translate. It means temporary people named Vincent everywhere.
Why won't it give me my... sorry.
All the staff
Sorry.
are called Vincent. Yes.
Yes, all of them are called Vincent.
I don't know what it means. Oh, I do.
Oh, yes. Well, this one's easy to George's mind and the classical 1910 schooling. Time conquers everything.
I did go to Oxford.
Did you know?
For a time.
I'm impressed.
So he would say out loud,
There's-
"A time conquers everything."
Sound like those gentlemen in the woods.
Well, almost everything. And he gets the 1,000-yard stare again.
Alfred follows his stare to try and see what he's looking at. Huh?
Oh my gosh.
Yep. Sam, if you wouldn't mind just moving the house picture, or you can take it off if you want. Seems like it's... Yeah, thanks.
Hey, there we go.
Was in a little bit of a hurry for this one, so somewhat generic miniatures, I'm afraid, but it's the best I could throw together on Hero Forge for...
Quite all right.
So yes, you come in to a inside of the small porch. You have the traditional low stone benches to either side of the oak front door, where you can basically take off muddy boots and so forth.
This is when I would start my scouting of the perimeter.
Yes, this is where you separate off, and so George is separated off and is wandering outside, splitting the party. There is nothing wrong with splitting the party in Call of Cthulhu. This is a perfectly safe environment.
Yeah.
I told you I was going to die this time.
So yes, for the rest, the recently laid block parquet floor hallway leads from the front door to the reception room and the central staircase. There is a large pair of deer antlers that hang above the entrance to the reception hall on the south end. And there is a crystal chandelier above the stairwell. There is a small wooden desk, leather-topped, with what appears to be a guest book lying open. Off to the side, underneath, behind the stairs, is the boot room, where you get to store your muddy Wellington boots, your overcoats, and it's also where the gun racks are. And apart from the weapons currently carried by George and any personal sidearms that you have about your persons, Maude does know that her secretary does carry a handgun inside his jacket. So, yeah,
She can have him keep that.
And anything else in there? There's also walking sticks, fishing rods, and helping out with Oliver is the butler Henry, who together lock up the gun racks. Seems like they each have keys to it, or to them. You are having disrobed and made ready. The housekeeper, Mrs. Horseworthy, comes and takes you down to your various rooms on the top floor of the house, and shows you where your luggage has been laid out. Let's see who gets where.
So we each have a room at this estate?
Yes. Maude has a room next door to Ernest. Maude's room has an ensuite. Ernest shares a bathroom with Susan's bedroom. And the others basically have, the rest of you have individual bedrooms that share one common bathroom. Actually, two common bathrooms between 8 rooms. Over on the main floor. Dinner will be in about an hour, and this being a country estate in 1928, dressing for dinner is definitely encouraged, and you would have packed accordingly.
That should give me plenty of time to do my circuit of the grounds and still
Indeed.
change for dinner.
Indeed. So switching over to George, as he does his wandering around the grounds. He wanders. You go around. You come back around past the summer house. You go round to the front of the summer house. Check, and the doors are locked.
I'm looking for anything suspicious. I'm listening out for any sort of, the same crunching of leaves, the sounds of footsteps, anything like that. He's in soldier mode.
Yep. Make a spot hidden roll.
Spot hidden.
Okay.
Oh.
So nothing untowards. And you go back round the back of the servants' quarters. There's pretty much nothing to be seen. You come back around the main house. Nothing particular. As you're about to go in through the main door, make a listen roll.
Damn it!
Nothing seemingly untoward. So, you're happy that the estate is secure.
Sure.
Now I get to work out who's going to be where for dinner. As we get everybody back, thank you. How are people spending the, call it, more like hour and a half before dinner. Bearing in mind that there's a little bit of time, obviously, to get dressed and so forth.
Alfred changes into his dinner clothes, which is kind of like what I'm wearing here, where it looks like clothing that was maybe once nice, but maybe he found the tie somewhere, like somebody forgot it at a hotel or something like that, and it was in the lost and found. And that's the tie he's wearing. A little shabby, but it's technically formal wear. And he would either try to make time with Oliver just because they're friends, or he would probably give attention to Maude if she was around as well. Nobody else interests him that much.
Okay. Well, that neatly brings the camera over to Maude. Or at some point, after, or rather to the door of Maud's room in the house.
Maude would spend most of the time getting ready. Her clothes are extremely nice, very form-fitting, and then flaring a little at the bottom, but just making sure that she is immaculate and clean, reapplying her lipstick and redoing her hair just to make sure that nothing is out of place. And probably by the time she is finished and finally exits her room, there's probably about 30 minutes left until dinner.
Okay. Well, you happen to leave your room just coincidentally within seconds of Ernest leaving his. And just as you are, he is absolutely immaculately dressed in a Savile Row custom-tailored long tails, white tie, jet cufflinks. You feel like he ought to be twirling some sort of cane, but he doesn't. And he says, "Oh, my dear, you look absolutely splendid. Shall we go down to the drawing room for some aperitif before we endure the plates to be put before us?"
Is everyone else down there currently?
Make a listen roll.
Righty. Since I've done so well at listening so far.
Yes. Well, it's those big earrings. They just drag down on the ear canals a little bit too
You'd
much.
think that would help me here.
Nah, she's just... Never mind. I'm not going to say it. She's just more concerned with herself than what's outside.
It's true.
Oh.
It's true. It seems like everyone, at least the rooms are silent, so she will extend her arm and will go down with him, asking about Oliver as they go, though.
And you make your way down into the drawing room, where you do indeed find Alfred and George. The drawing rooms of this well-lit... The drawing room is this well-lit room lined with 17th century oak panels. There are comfortable leather sofas, armchairs, and side tables. There is a piano in one corner, And there are window seats offering views out of the front of the house and across the garden lawns. There are several faded sketches hung above the stone fireplace, showing Hillcote House in some state of ruin. And what do we find George and Alfred engaged in, as it were, or are they merely two people not really conversing at this point in time?
No,
I think at the moment,
that
yeah.
Go ahead.
You go. Go.
I would like to say that George is wearing almost exactly what he was wearing before, only a clean version. So he seems like the kind of guy, if you opened his closet, you would just see the same outfit over and over and over and over again. But no, he would absolutely be listening to whatever Alfred is saying, trying to be as attentive as possible while also keeping an eye on everything at once.
Mm-hmm. Alfred, in that case, is droning on to anyone who will listen. Although he's a pretty charming conversationalist, and so he's probably discussing some sort of new movement in the world of painting and drawing, and he's happy that George is there, his friend Little, but he's also kind of trying to direct all of his charm toward anybody else in the room who seems like they have more money.
So in that case, George would be kind of like that that subtle, like, just take a step in the direction towards like Rhonda or some of the other participants, just like casually guiding Alfred over to another group so that he can detach and go check on Oliver.
Did you just ditch me?
No, he's very much listening to what you have to say. He just also has to do his job.
Right.
And
he
feels like
I don't know if
his
George
job is security.
Right. I don't know if George remembers what Alfred is talking about, but Alfred's conversation, you would pick up that it's peppered with words like patron and supporter of the arts and financier and stuff along those lines.
George is surprisingly well versed in art and culture. So I think Alfred might be a little surprised by how knowledgeable George might be, or how easily he maintains the conversation.
Yeah, and Alfred appreciates that. Alfred doesn't look down on George. So
he does give him his attention as much as he can. Absolutely.
Friendship. We made it.
I think, I definitely think that George is rather fond of Alfred now.
Eldritch friendship.
Aww.
So, Alfred is a little younger, correct?
23. So, almost half my age.
Yeah. So, George is definitely kind of maybe even paternally fond of Alfred at this point.
I like that. But also Alfred's working the room.
Yeah.
Also working the room is Maude. As soon as she's able to sort of detangle herself from Ernest, she does so and will just make herself known in the room, grab a drink, and will try to make her way over to Oliver. But if she isn't and spots Alfred or George, she'll actually go and speak with them.
Yeah, Oliver doesn't seem to be present here at the moment, so out of the three, you just gravitate towards Alfred and George, who are possibly standing just around the fireplace, and at that point, all three of you get to make spot hidden rolls.
Woo!
Ooh.
Just give me a gun. Just give me a gun, and I will shoot
She's
it.
so self-absorbed. She
Oh,
just
God.
doesn't.
Alfred's in lecture mode, so he's not looking for anything.
But no, that's that. George is kind of like half listening to Alfred, but is also trying to like make sure that
Makes
nothing
sense.
is amiss. As
Well,
I've said
Much
several times.
described.
Yeah,
Oh, Mr.
it's funny you should say
Tomkins.
that, George. Because you're looking at this, and you've been around the estate now for a few weeks, and you realise that the one drawing of Hillcote Manor that's above the fireplace is a little bit off, and
It
you
would
go
catch
to
my
correct
attention.
it.
Sorry.
And you catch that one of them actually has some details on the back. So it's basically a front elevation drawing in as a sketch that resembles the house as it appears now. There's also sketches of other elevations of the area. But the one difference is that where the summer house is currently standing is just indicated as some sort of mound.
Very curious. I would actually point it out to Maude and Alfred, since they're standing there talking. When Alfred
Those
kind of
sketches-
stops for a breath, I would draw his attention to the sketches and point that out, actually.
Oh, and no, I'm sorry, Little. Just one moment. And that's why post-impressionism will, I think, in the long run, prove to be more influential than impressionism itself. Now, this painting that Little is showing to us all is not an impressionistic painting. This is just a boring landscape of a hill or something.
Well, I mean, it's a historical record of the grounds and the house, and I find it quite interesting that here, where the summer house is, seems to be a garden mound of some kind. It's quite curious that they would have built a summer house on top of that. I wonder what's underneath it.
It's probably
It
just
is.
a prime
You also
location.
see that as you're looking that the sketch is dated 1790 and signed Robert Plunkett.
Which is what, like about 40 years ago? Not quite. 38. We're in.
100.
Oh no,
100.
100.
30 years ago.
My mistake.
Goodness, well,
Alfred, what?
looks like... Yes?
Oh, I was just going to ask what you thought of the talent of the artist. This must have been Lord Oliver's grandfather or great-grandfather at that point.
Yes, I suppose. I mean, in terms of neoclassicism, he's not untalented, but why would you have a picture of a mound? So many more attractive things to paint.
Well,
And then
I mean,
he looks
if you
at
were
Maude.
trying to be accurate to, I mean, he definitely has more talent than I. So, perhaps he was just trying to be.
Talented at holding guns and pointing them.
Well,
Uh,
I have quite a few more talents than that, lad. Trust me. I
Oh,
was just
all right.
saying
You
that
aren't
perhaps this is a.
incredibly talented at that.
Well, wouldn't you like to know?
No, I would like to hear what Miss Vanderbelt thinks of the reality depicted in this particular painting. Where do your eyes go, Miss Vanderbelt, when you look at this?
As do I.
Um,
Oh, I'm inside. I
she-
should took my hat. I apologize.
That's all right.
yes. She just sort of shakes her head and doesn't even really look up at the painting. just kind of continues to stare at the fire. I believe you're just trying to find issues where there's nothing, Mr. Littleton. It's just a painting.
Yes. This is we could talk for hours about that. Is anything just a painting?
I just find it curious is all. What do you suppose that mound is? It just seems a bit out of place.
Where would that be? Where would that be today? And he sort of he starts looking around, pointing his finger, trying to figure out where this.
Little would point directly towards the summer house and go, "No, it appears to be directly under where they've built the summer house."
Interesting. I wonder if Oliver knows anything about this. What is his name? Robert.
Where is Oliver? He should be here by now.
Yes, where is Oliver? I mean, I do believe it is time to convene for dinner.
Hungry.
Speaking of which, Henry, or Mr. Horseworthy, depending on where you are in the household, opens the door and says, "My lady, gentlemen, dinner is served." All right, you care to take your places for dinner?
And Maude pulled out her arm to Alfred.
Oh, yes, Miss Vanderbelt. And he takes it and leads her into the dining room.
Ernest is a little bit nonplussed, but just shrugs it off with an extra swig in his drink, refills his whiskey and soda on his way past, and heads out. So, sorry, George, I stepped on you.
Oh, no, you're fine. I was going to address Henry and ask if he knows where Lord Oliver is.
Getting seated for dinner, sir.
Very well. And I would be the last one in the room.
Perfectly fine. Everybody does. It's the whole usual formal dinner thing. You know, everybody stands behind the chairs, waits for, in this case, Susan to Oliver's sister to take her seat, and then everybody else sits down, sort of following. And Oliver
if
opens
I'm nearby to either of the ladies, I'll pull their chair out for them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, it's the... let's see. We have Maude on Oliver's right. Susan directly opposite Oliver. Mr. Brown opposite Maude. Alfred and George at one end, and then Rhonda and Ernest on the other side of the table.
I think Alfred would be capable enough to know to pull out the chair for Maude, as she's right to his left.
Alfred does notice that it's a slightly unusual seating, because normally he would have expected to be seated next to Susan.
It's so odd.
So basically he swapped places with Ernest.
Where have I put my spectacles? There they are.
So, Mr. Tomkins,
much better.
I heard much about your artwork from Mr. Plunkett.
Oh yeah, well, of course, from Oliver. He's a good friend and is very supportive of my career, and has been on several occasions. But I do see things differently. You know, I do feel like the art is bursting out of me, and I can't contain it. I have to put it somewhere. And of course, I've heard of your family, very successful in the States, as we call it here in England, where I am from.
Across the pond.
Across the pond is something also we say.
Yes. I. She laughed. She just chuckles at that. My family is very successful. It's a vast business empire. Maybe perhaps you could come visit us in America sometime. And I just love to travel, so I'm not there quite as often as I should be.
I would love to travel as well. Of course, I'm afraid I can't afford to at the moment, but such is the
Jared,
life
you
of.
have not experienced yourself until you are able to travel.
And I think he's not being mean, but you sense like a little bit of an edge to his voice as he responds to that, and he says, I would love, yes, that sounds lovely, but I have pressing issues here that require me to remain with my family.
Yeah, she almost doesn't seem to understand why anyone would not wish to travel at this moment and wouldn't even have the means to. She's almost taken aback by that. Well,
I've seen enough of the world, thank you very much. I'm happy to be back and on this side of the water. To be
Yes,
perfectly
that's
honest,
right.
you're not missing much.
until
Yeah,
you've seen the golden booted statues in Burma and the vast grasslands of the savannah, you haven't lived. There's so
suppose I
much
haven't
out
lived.
there.
That does
You're
sound
so
lovely.
young. You have time, Mr. Tomkins, and
I might have time, but I don't have. All right, that's good. Thank you. Don't. All right. Sorry,
To hear you
little.
describe it, or sorry, Miss Vanderbilt. To hear you describe it, it really does sound lovely. Perhaps I need to reassess my opinion.
Well, I am glad to hear that you're open-minded enough to be able to take things at a different look. But Mr.
At which point,
Tompkins, oh, yeah, she falls into this weird silence for a moment.
which Oliver
As
takes
does
advantage
George.
of to interject. It does indeed sound a charming description. I would be interested to hear what you would make of the majesty of the moorland landscapes around here. If I could perhaps persuade you to stay on for a week or so to fully gather its glory.
Oh,
I would be honored, no less than honored, to provide you with a guide, should you so choose to stay. Just as you
I
know.
mean, it would be quite rude of me to decline such an invitation. I'm sure my secretary will be able to make arrangements for me to stay as such.
Make a psychology check, Maude.
Psychology. Trying to find it. There we go.
37.
Yep.
Oh, okay. You look up as you say that, and Dexter is quite, I would say he's quite adamantly eating his soup. with a very deliberate motion.
Well, I believe he must have been famished.
Quite
Hopefully
possibly.
he has better manners than that next time. I do apologize for him.
At which point, Susan pipes up from her end. Ernest and Rhonda seem to be rather hitting it off in their part of the table and are busy discussing the latest stage shows in Paris. So, brother dear, you had a good day shooting on the moor? Yes. Well, yes. Well, apart from that dreadful incident with the poachers. Susan goes, Oliver, you and your poachers, you'll be telling us you've seen a ghost next. And you notice that Oliver is just a little bit taken aback before he responds, "Oh, ghost, Susan dear, don't be silly. You know there is no such thing." And
Is there insight in this?
basically, roll the psychology check. Is what is the equivalent.
Pass.
Yeah.
Yep, all
Your
perfectly
only
above-
hope, Alfred.
I'm not overthinking
George
things.
is intent on his soup. He's eating like a
real
military
quick.
man, very quickly and efficiently.
Yeah. This is important. What kind of soup is it?
Mulligatawny.
Shoot.
So
What's in
curry
that?
soup.
Beans? Curry.
No, it's rice.
Chickpeas.
Yeah, chickpeas. Plenty of curry powder.
Any meat?
No.
Okay. Yeah, so Alfred's in his soup too. He's not listening to them. He's getting all the soup.
George finishes his soup almost too quickly.
Uh-oh.
Oh, Maude will look disgusted.
It's good. It's
He's not making a mess. He's just finished it and placed his spoon aside and is sitting and watching the table.
very efficient. Soup eating.
Well, that's one way to
Fuel for
describe
the
it.
machine, lad. Fuel for the machine.
Not even going
Well,
to...
food is something
little.
to be savored. I'm sure Mr. Tompkins could understand art as
Cooking
food.
is an art in itself. When
course.
it's done correctly.
You have
So
a
much
point.
more. But
Cannot afford to travel to the savannah. We can at least enjoy the soup that we are given.
I'm sure next time I go, I will have to bring you along, Mr. Tompkins. It would
Yes,
be
I would love that. That would be
joy
wonderful.
and pleasure.
Depending on how things go in my personal affairs, of course.
Of course. It seems that you are a busy man.
Well, not particularly. I have family here that requires much of my attention, so to speak.
Family man, too. You are such a dear.
Oh, my mother.
She doesn't seem to understand
Not.
why
I'm
you
not.
want to
I'm not
stay.
married. My Yes, I'm so sorry. My mother is a bit under the weather. So
My apologies. I didn't know. I do hope that she makes a speedy and quick recovery.
well, so do I. won't press the issue much further, but she they say that she can be helped with an operation, and so as soon as I soon as this is good soup.
She will like cast a side glance at Oliver, but will like reach out and like place a hand lightly on Alfred's. And is like very deliberate about it, making sure that Oliver sees her doing this. So, type thing.
Oh well. Thank you, Miss Vanderbelt. Comforts of a friend are very much appreciated.
Yes, well, you can definitely consider me a friend, Mr. Tomkins.
Yes, thank you. I would love to discuss this with you further, but yes, for now we shall enjoy the rest of the meal.
Yes, of course. She'll take her hand away. Again, another side look at Oliver before she folds her hands on her lap, having finished her soup.
At which point, Henry the butler, the young, probably barely out of her teens maid, and what George knows to be the cook, come in and busy themselves bringing forward, well, if it's the first of the main courses or the main course, remains to be seen, but it's a fillet of trout in a lemon sauce with new potatoes, served with a passable white wine. And Susan yet again decides to berate her brother and go, "You say there's no such thing as ghosts, brother dear, but remember, all the locals keep talking about the Hillcote ghost, haunting the moor, preying on the lost. That evil old witch hunter who terrorized Exmoor until killed by the then owner of the manor."
What?
Oh,
Ghost?
you've not said any stories of this before, Susan? What's come over you? And he looks over at Alfred with sort of a glare in his eyes of, have you been spending too much time with the paints, dear? And she goes, "Oh no, not a lot at all. Just listening to the stories of the folk of the land." And she sort of quietly returns to filleting her fish.
So certainly not painting pictures about ghosts. I wouldn't be able to see anything. It's ridiculous. It's just an empty canvas. I think. I've never seen a ghost.
To be perfectly honest, Impressionism has always struck me as a painting made by a ghost. Don't know why.
Oh.
It's like the feeling of something rather than the substance of it.
Yes, that's an interesting perspective. Oh, Oliver. Yes, that's well said. Oliver, we were talking about the picture in the other room above the fireplace of the landscape of the house, the manor. Used to be a hill in the back.
The ones by the fireplace? Those old things?
Yes. Yes, it looks like maybe an ancestor of yours. That's your grandfather, great-grandfather.
Oh, yeah. Well, that would be yes. That would be Robert Plunkett. He great-grandfather bought the estate from the Crown lands back in 1786. It was a complete ruin at the time. And basically, he built up what you see today. He was able to keep some. I believe he was able to keep some of the original architecture, particularly around the south wing. So the
Interesting.
where we're sitting now, which leads me to realize I need to find.
So George is taking quite a bit more time with the fish than he did with the soup. He seems to be
Classing
taking
it
what
up.
Maude said.
Alfred is only, right. Alfred is only eating potatoes. He's not eating the fish.
And as you're sitting around, making your way through the main course, and had a chance to sort of look around, I should perhaps describe the room you're in a little bit. You're in a large dining room, large dining table that has seating for 12 people. There's 2 window bays looking out over the front of the house, each of which have window seats in them. There are 2 large sideboards containing dining utensils, including silver-handled carving knives. The walls are hung with various pictures of the moor, including a couple of recent landscapes by Alfred. The east wall features a large stone fireplace with a wooden mantel and a stone surround bearing an engraving in Latin.
What does it say?
I'll translate it.
It says, Fugaces nuc eset futuri servetat legem ad praeterea cadem.
Always wear underwear.
Always wear pants on a Zoom call. No.
That's what it says.
I don't know any better, according to my role. So
You guys certainly adorn your house with interesting sayings.
That's a long one.
Yeah.
Wait, I was going to say, if your great-grandfather was the one who obtained the land, and he takes a fork, and he says maybe he was the one who fought the ghost. Just a little stabbing motion. Right, Susan? Right?
Well, if stories are true, then the ghost would have been around even in his time.
Oh, this is... Well.
Everybody can make a psychology check.
Okie dokie.
something future. I do think that George has been eyeing Alfred's fish and says, "Is it not to your liking, my friend?"
Oh,
Here, just pass it this way.
he sort of like takes his plate and he puts the fish over on George and says, "Thank you."
Can we do it like surreptitiously so that like nobody else notices?
Can I do a sleight of hand check? Because I really failed that psychology check. All right.
Because I don't want Alfred to offend.
Okay. I think just because of that, I am going to do an opposed roll.
This is exactly what opposed rolls were designed for.
I don't want Alfred to be embarrassed by offending our host. And, I don't want him to feel...
Actually, I need it to be... Sorry. Opposed by Aja. Okay. Cook.
Well,
see, something suspicious happened, but isn't sure of what.
Cough. Very good.
Oh, I think I've dropped
Distract.
something. Can you get that for me, Ada?
Yeah. Did I take the
there's,
plate under the table?
Drop my cane. Like, oh,
Excellent.
my
Do you,
apologies.
you really did scarf that down. I look one moment and you have a full plate, and the next it's gone.
The
Didn't think you
potatoes
had
were
it in
delicious.
you.
It's not in me. I don't. I prefer not to eat animals. I'm a practicer of an art, a practice that we call it vegetarianism. So I only eat things which grow from the earth or from the soil. Honestly, I find myself to be a bit of a non-violent individual myself. I just come on these hunts for the companionship. I don't enjoy hunting.
She's surprised for a moment, and you just kind of see her like try and speak for half a second, and before she shakes it off. I guess there's this time I was in Burma, and I met these monks,
Yes.
and they were of exactly the same thought of you. Quite a peaceful folk.
It
They
does
are,
seem
but
as if there is a spirit within every living thing, and it would be a shame to take that unjustly or before its time. Even the grouse, even those poor little birdies. Still, the potatoes were delicious. Good potatoes.
George would kind of overhear this and lean towards Alfred and just kind of under his breath say, just between the two of us, or I suppose the three of us, I do thank everything for its life before I take it.
And Alfred pauses for a moment and sort of reaches across the table and with all sincerity says, "It's good manners."
It's just respect.
Maude will also lean in, and just like look, just like our three heads together.
Yeah, right.
But something changes for a moment, and she just shakes her head. Never quite understood it, but there's just something so exhilarating when you pull that trigger and see that little bird fall. So I am sorry you don't get to experience that.
All the color drains from Alfred's face.
George does raise an eyebrow at that and kind of share a look with Maude for a second, like a look of understanding. And just like that.
Yeah, she just smiles, her teeth extra white against her red lipstick. But yeah, there's definitely that look of understanding. But she'll pat Alfred's hand again in this
He
sort of
flinches.
patronizing way. Yeah.
All right, lad.
This
There's
is
no
no.
shame sensible.
I don't judge others. I just can only
You're a
be
gentle
myself.
soul, and that this world needs more of, lad.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, gentle souls don't seem to have quite as much luck sometimes, but we're in good company, right, Alfred?
Yes.
Indeed.
It's nice. Beautiful.
And with that, I'm going to ask the party for history rolls, for no readily apparent reason.
You've been so good at this.
I haven't passed
Yes,
a
God.
single one of these yet. Let's see if I can keep it up.
I never will.
Shooting a gun.
Let's see if I
This,
can roll
my
under a
friends, is
5.
what's known as roll 20.
So I had to get
What
under
is
a
the
5. I did roll a
difficulty?
90.
You're fine. Just
What?
I just because I feel like it's not exploring the entire universe of roles, and I'd be unfair to Cthulhu referees everywhere if I didn't then say, well, okay, education roles.
Very
Just
well.
that the difficulty level goes up a bit. So just click on the education stat right at the top.
Ah.
Oh no. Oh, there it is.
Education. The green?
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Damn it! I can't get much worse than that. Are you serious?
Maude got it. Maude got the education roll.
Where are the hero points when you need them?
I know.
I
saw.
say, not that.
Spend luck.
This is my bad. I should have introduced this mechanic earlier, but nothing has really been important enough that I feel it's called for. One of the mechanics there's two mechanics that are worth noting and are worth bearing in mind. One is that at any time, well, with a few exceptions, sanity rolls and so forth, you can, if you so wish, push a roll. This basically means that you get to re-roll the roll, but the difficulty goes a level higher. So if you needed, say, a hard success, you would now need an extreme success for it to work. If you fail a pushed roll, I'm at liberty as GM to come up with just about any unfortunate result that I care to imagine. So pushing a roll is probably a not good thing, say, for cleaning a gun.
No, but an education roll might be safer.
An education roll might be safer. It's going to be difficult for me to really cause severe, at least physical pain. Mental anguish? Well, that's a challenge.
Could I push this roll just for fun?
Sure. Re-roll it.
Oh, phew.
You've got a regular success. Unfortunately, this is a case where...
Close.
Yeah.
You have to go back and finish high school again.
Let's see. George is sitting there, does that, failing an education roll about this. You know what? George is actually getting to the opinion that inscription over the fireplace, much as though he's seen it every day for the last 4 weeks, isn't actually Latin, but is really in Greek. And that's his problem.
That must be it. Can't be that I didn't pay attention in Latin class. It must be a different language.
Yeah. Maude, meanwhile, has been...
Not that much.
Yeah. Maude has been sort of sitting, pondering back to her Latin classes in high school, which it was one of those tutors that was just really dry and boring, not like that fun young geography tutor who would come in with pictures of the savannah.
Oh, he was fun.
Yeah. But you do sort of get a sense that the inscription on the fireplace is something like, now is temporary, the future uncertain, the past definite.
Yeah, Maude will look at the fireplace and say this, but say it in a way as though she's helping George understand what it says.
I don't know.
That sounds like a social role, and in Call of Cthulhu, the term social role basically covers any of the more social-based skills. So, charm, intimidation. What do we got? Fast talk. There's one more, I'm pretty sure.
Language? Own?
No, maybe it's just those three. But you basically can take your pick depending on which angle you want to.
Wow, I thought I would be better at this. Okay. Let's try this one. Nope.
I was going to say I had to go back and double check that number because I was kind of surprised at that when I reread the character.
So she's trying to be helpful to George, but instead sounds very condescending.
I think that
But-
when she says it out loud, it like clicks for George that it is in fact Latin, but he's so stubborn that he just won't concede.
Yeah, make another
So,
education check, George. Okay. Not only do you get it, you also recognize it. It's a quote from the Roman philosopher Seneca. And it's not quite what she's saying, it's approximately, the real quote is, "The present is fleeting, the future unformed, the past certain."
So could I say the original quote aloud to Maude, and kind of a bit of a challenging tone, but more playful than confrontational.
She takes a sip of her wine. No, I believe it was the other way.
Well,
What are we talking about?
We'll have to agree to disagree.
We were talking about that quote in Latin over there, next to one of your amazing paintings.
That's
I'm
sort
going
of
to have to
mine.
commission something from you.
Oh, is that one of
Yes,
yours,
please. That would be
lad?
wonderful. I would
my
be happy
goodness.
to. Yes. Any sort of advance would secure. I would give you priority. But just
Priority.
a small down payment.
So it seems I'm here for another week. How long does it take you to do some, what it is you do?
It depends on what you'd like. I could finish something within a week. I suppose. If it's all right with Oliver that I stay over, but he seems all right with it. Yes, that would be wonderful. I'd be happy to clear my calendar.
Most excellent. I will have to see what I can procure with my secretary. You just give me a number.
He seems like indecisive, right? He's sort of like, yes.
Oh, so it costs that
Yeah,
much?
Okay, we mean
for another week
I'll-
without you, lad. Your mother.
well,
You said she was ill. Will she
I've
still be
made
all right with that?
arrangements. The people at the hospital are taking care of her. It's fine. It's I think more than a week she might miss me, but we can speak later if you want a landscape or portraiture, anything you'd like.
Anything indeed. Ah, yes. I will send my secretary and you give him the number.
Oh yes.
George is
We will
intently
make
focused on
arrangements.
his plate in front of him.
Why is it? I love it
Pointedly
that Call
ignoring
of
the
Cthulhu
conversation.
just goes anywhere.
I think
will definitely
George
have to be a
can
portrait.
feel the heat coming out of
I
Dexter's
do feel the
ears.
heat. Yes. There's a lot of flirting going on between these people. And it's wonderful. I love it.
I love it so much.
But the entire time,
Alfred
feels
is so,
he's
like-
glancing.
Alfred is so adorable. I'm sorry.
He's so cute.
I can only
Oh.
play cinnamon rolls. Please, Staffan, please take us away.
No.
Well, it is time for young. Where is she? Young Hannah. Excuse me. To come and bring in the dessert, which is that most traditional of British dessert, a sherry trifle. For those that are unaware of what a sherry trifle is, it is basically a series of jellies placed one on top of each other, and the sherry is poured into the making of each jelly layer in quite copious amounts and topped with a ludicrous amount of whipped cream. This is a general treat and dessert for 5-year-olds.
Or Americans.
Here for it.
I can't help but think of the Friends episode where Rachel tries to make a trifle. It tastes like feet.
Hopefully this
I apologize.
No?
Yeah, no. This is my favorite. Thank you.
Yeah. Looking.
Yum.
Never mind. So very.
Yes, Googling trifles is an interesting adventure.
If you haven't seen that Friends episode, it is probably one of my favorites.
It is
the
a good one.
outtakes are even better.
But yeah, Maude will very, very deliberately take the whipped cream, looking at what's his bucket? Ernest.
Oh, Ernest.
And then over back to Alfred and just very slowly eat this trifle as she gushes about his paintings.
Woo! It's get a little warm in here.
For someone so young, I just cannot believe the skill that you have with those brushes.
Yes, well, yes, I tried to.
In the rib real quick.
Sorry. Well, as I say, part of it is a preternatural gift, and part of it is just a lot of practice and experience.
Well, I'm excited to see what you'll paint for me.
Me too.
Oh, beautiful. Oh my god. Doc, I love you so much.
Oh my gosh, the soft baby is going to go insane and die. Okay.
The dessert course.
Indeed. Well, dinner eventually comes to a close. Susan makes her excuses, as is more or less the norm for at least English females of the upper classes. Oliver suggests, well, honored guest, shall we withdraw to the drawing room for some refreshments and get more conversation?
Of course.
Rhonda makes her excuses as well.
Do you smoke, Alfred?
Ernest comes along. Derek looks up to Oliver and says, perhaps, good sir, I might excuse myself as well. I'm afraid my digestion isn't quite what it used to be. And he sort of make a spot hidden roll.
I would love to make a spot hidden roll. And I would love to
Okay.
fail it as well.
Yeah, it's not important enough that I would suggest you spend 53 points of luck to make up for it. So yeah, okay. So anybody else going off to their rooms, or?
No, I would be going to the
I'm going
drawing
to-
room, and I would actually be. I think George has a couple of cigars on him, and he offers one to Alfred, to all the gentlemen in the room, and
yes.
actually offers one to Maude if she is joining us.
Quality.
He would pull Alfred, well, not pull him aside, but as they're like walking through the room or over to the drawing room, would kind of lean over towards Alfred and say, "Just a tip, lad. The next time you're talking to her, just pretend you're talking to me."
You don't look anything like that.
Just trust me.
Okay.
And he gives him a wink.
No, I think she's only. I think she's primarily interested in my autistic skills. So
I think she's just interested in what you can do with your hands, boy.
he's painting.
And he just gives him like a flat look and then turns around and walks into the room. It's the like, you're hopeless kind of look.
He is.
I tried. You're on your own.
I will hold the cigar like I've never smoked one in my whole life and try and figure out how to light it. And I mean, if I have to roll for that,
no, George goes through like kind of an exaggerated series of clipping the cigar, roasting it, and then he kind of leans over and goes, "While you're lighting it, blow out. Don't suck in. Until it's nice and red. Just blow out. Don't suck in." And so he kind of like shows Alfred without showing him how to smoke a cigar.
Nice.
And just to check, did Maude join the gentleman?
Yeah.
Okay,
She will
thank you.
join the gentleman. She likes being the only woman.
Do you
in
take the
room.
cigar that you're offered?
She will take the cigar and actually knows what to do with it. But she will like lean in and like wait for you to light it for her. She won't light it herself.
He does so, as a gentleman should.
Mm-hmm. And she does not cough.
You know, they say cigarettes are a habit, but cigars are a hobby.
And to be fair, in this time and age, cigarettes are a positive health boon. They're being
clear your
prescribed
mind.
by doctors for
They've got vitamins in
against
it.
nervous diseases. So yes, you
They say,
settle down over drinks.
A good cigar should only be lit once. A bad one never.
There you go. Oliver, somewhat sheepishly twirling a whiskey tumbler, says, "Well, now that we're more sort of gathered together, I should perhaps state that I have maybe been a bit less than totally honest about the situation here. Regardless of what I said in front of Susan, she's such a delicate creature. There have been some strange things going on here at Hillcote, particularly over the last few weeks. And George, you'll know a little bit about this backstory
I
as
was going to
well.
say, have I seen anything of these strange happenings?
You've had a couple of occasions sort of similar to what Oliver is going to describe, and you're aware of the circumstances regarding the prior gamekeeper, and I'll get to those in a second.
Very well.
I thought that it was just overwork and too much port, but frankly, my friends, I'm no longer sure. I think I might have began to hear voices when no one is around. There's times that I will walk around and feel disorientated. The old gamekeeper resigned, claiming the place was haunted and wouldn't stay another night in the house. And that same evening, I thought I saw a face, like a dead thing peering in through the library window. I was in the garden a week ago when I heard what sounded like a distant chanting in a strange tongue carried on the wind. And just a few days ago, I fell asleep in here but woke up to see a strangely dressed man staring at me from the other side of the room, laughing. Worry not, your time is soon over. I must have been dreaming, for when I looked again, he was gone.
Didn't they tell me about that?
Well, no, I wanted you to take the post, frankly.
Well, Oliver, we go all the way back to Oxford together. I count you among my few friends, and these folks as well. It's my job to keep you safe. You have to tell me these things. You know that I would give my life for you, Oliver. Please, never hold something like this back again.
You're indeed a good friend, George, and I appreciate it. I wish to give my apologies, but these are not easy things to speak of.
If someone has entered the house without your knowledge, I need to know how, and I need to know. I need to know.
Well, I'm sure it was just a poor dream, like I said, but I wanted to at least have it out there.
I wish you hadn't lied to me, Oliver. But now that I know, I'll be on the watch for it. Don't you worry, lad.
Strange faces and voices. That sounds like what those men in the woods said to us about time and whatnot.
Alfred, you're right. I'd forgotten that completely. You're right. It does sound quite similar, doesn't it?
I think it's an elaborate prank.
Well, hope for the best, plan for the worst. If it's a prank, it's a prank,
right.
But if not, we need to be careful.
He's absolutely holding an unlit cigar in his mouth as he thinks about this. He's too chicken to light it.
Do you need help with that, lad? And he holds the...
No, I'm fine. I'm fine. No, I'm good. It's good. I'm saving it for later. Oh, Maude, you're muted. Yes, Maude, what was that? Speak up.
Maude will like blow smoke into Alfred's face.
Oh,
It's much better when it is lit, dear.
Alfred turns green slightly. Yes, it's lovely. It's nice. I like it. I like. I like the cigar smoke. It's good.
Dear,
I'm going to bed.
sure. I'll be
Goes
right
off.
Okay. Alfred staggers somewhat out of the room. Oliver also makes his excuses, leaving the three of you left in the room. As Oliver shuts the door, or the door closes behind Oliver, you each get to make a spot hidden roll.
Why is my
Not me.
mouse not working?
Well,
I go bedtime.
Ernest.
Me too.
This is Ernest. Okay. You are
Great.
both, well, both the pair of you and Ernest are surprised as suddenly, well, or not so suddenly because it happens fairly slowly, but out of one of the armchairs in the corner, a man rises up. You can all three make history rolls.
Ernest. Coming through.
And George?
Good job, Ernest.
He's frozen. There
Oh
we go.
no, George.
Got
George,
him.
make... Yep.
There we go.
Yep, he's back.
Better?
He's dressed somewhat
Can you hear me
unusually.
now?
We can hear you now.
Yes.
I am still having some technical difficulties, so I apologize if that affects anything. I don't know what's going on with my computer right now. But what I was going to say is that when the man rises out of his chair, George's hand goes under the breast of his coat.
Uh-huh.
He is reaching for his revolver.
Okay. Let me know if you pull it forwards.
Not yet. Not until he poses a threat.
But yes, this man steps up from behind one of those large green armchairs and just stands looking at the three of you.
Do I recognize him at all?
No.
Identify yourself.
I am
Friend
the
or foe?
owner of Hilkett Manor. By name, Sir Godfrey Haskins, Knight of the Realm. Whom do I welcome to my house?
Well,
This is
my
not your
realm.
place.
I introduced myself, actually.
Okay.
George Littleton of Her Majesty's Royal Service. Pleased to make your acquaintance. I don't take my hand off my revolver.
Maude will laugh and just say, "You're in Mr. Oliver Plunkett's house." Because she's fully thinking she just missed this guy. He was probably in the room the whole time.
I assure you, madam, these estates granted to me by King Charles of England, France, and Ireland, whom I serve by the grace of God.
What?
Can she make an education roll to be like, remember
Sure.
how long ago that was?
Sure.
My good sir. What year is it?
It is the year of our Lord 1648. Should it be any other?
It should not, but unfortunately it is. It is the year of our Lord 1928.
And at that you see a wry smile come over his face. $1928, you say?
Last time I checked,
Well, well, well. The livre de temps was right.
What do
At
you
that
mean?
point, there is a knock on the door. The three of you more or less involuntarily turn around.
I guess I'm closest, so I would go open the door.
Yeah. And when you look back, the fire that was briefly roaring in the fireplace is out again, and the man is nowhere to be found. However, standing outside the door is Henry the butler with a fresh bottle of whiskey on a silver tray.
I feel like Maude would look at her cigar, then look over at George and just like put the cigar down.
Don't look at me, it's not my fault. They were normal cigars last time I checked. And Alfred didn't even light his.
And as one might suspect, we've managed to go almost 3 hours. But it's time for a sanity check.
It's time for a what check?
Sanity check. Oh, yeah. Alfred is, of course, safe from this since he's...
Alfred's asleep.
Yeah. And,
I would take the bottle of whiskey from... What's his name? Henry?
Henry, yeah.
So, yeah, I would say thank you, take the bottle of whiskey, and then close the door. And then turn around to Alfred and Maude, take a very, very long pull from the bottle, and just hold it out to whoever else wants it.
Alfred, we dragged you back into the room.
No, I'm not there. I'm asleep. I went night-night. Ernest will take it.
Ernest quite happily says, "I thought you would never ask, dear boy." and pours himself what's known as a trader's pour, which is you leave about a quarter of an inch at the top of the glass for the soda, and the rest is the spirit.
Oh, George doesn't even bother with the mixers. He just takes it straight. Actually, George takes a flask out of an inside breast pocket and fills it from the nice whiskey.
Fortunately, Henry the butler has moved back away towards his apartments. Isn't aware of the...
George doesn't care. George.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need a little bit more of this later.
I need everybody to make a credit rating roll.
What, really?
Oh!
Shit.
Wow, look at those credit ratings.
I'm getting my loan for my painting.
That tracks.
Maude is sort of just putting a few things together about what she's been seeing around the house, particularly here in the old parts of the house, sort of built on the remains of the original. And particularly, one of the things that struck her about that incident was how opulent the drawing room was. It was almost like all the colors were sharper, everything was more polished. The green leather on the armchairs wasn't as dappled as it is now. You get the sense that whilst this is a grand country house, it's also a country house that's teetering on the edge of ruination. It's clearly not been kept up anywhere near to its intended state. Yes, it's still opulent and lots of antiques, etc., 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 but you suddenly realize as you just run a finger along the top of the fireplace that there's actually dust on top of it.
She kind of clears it off of her hand and swirls the whiskey around in her glass as she goes over to the chair that the man was sitting in and had risen from, and also sort of inspect that, running a hand along the leather.
And yeah, you can feel the texture of it is not smooth as though it's been cared for or oiled or anything. It's that there's a patina to it. It's rough.
She frowns and she looks at George. How long has Oliver been back at the estate?
I'm not sure exactly. I've only been here a week or two. He contacted me.
George thinks that Oliver took over the estate about 3 years back or so. When, yeah.
But he only contacted me a couple of weeks ago. I mean, about a month back. It took me a while to get here, but I've been here for about 2 weeks. I wouldn't know, honestly. I think it's been a couple of years. And then George actually goes and sets about relighting the fire.
Okay. Yeah. The chimney is actually usable, so that's possible to do. If you've managed to, there's some wood sort of to the side of it. Just wasn't any in the grate itself.
What? Wait, it was. That's odd. We had he would turn back to Maude and who else is in the room with us? What's his name? Ernest.
Ernest, yeah.
This was lit a moment ago, wasn't it? Or have I had too much to drink?
Well, Ernest is sort of looking into the swirling of his whiskey, going.
He ignores Ernest and goes to.
So too, but it's a blended whiskey. I wouldn't trust it to speak my weight, frankly, right now.
I mean, there was a
Clearly
fire. I know, and I would after that realization, I would actually back away from the fireplace without relighting the fire. Then I would kind of get closer to Maude and Ernest and kind of try and like a strength in numbers kind of thing. George is back on high alert.
Come now, you both are being absolutely silly. And she'll go towards the fire. She's lit a fire before, or at least seen people do it. How hard can it be?
Well, it's not a matter of it being difficult.
I take that as an excuse for a mechanical roll, but I feel that's probably pushing it a bit.
So she goes up and looks around for wood, and probably doesn't find any, doesn't know where the matches are. But it's just like, clearly there was no fire here. I mean, I don't remember there being a fire here. You both are being ridiculous.
What's the temperature of the room right now?
It's actually.
Is it still?
It's on the chilly side. It's call it maybe 16, 17 Celsius, so 64, 66 Fahrenheit, something like that.
Because there's a chill in the air outside, and if the fire had been lit, the room would still be warm. Did we notice the temperature drop?
Make a natural world roll.
Nope.
Okay. He says, without actually having looked at the character sheet to see what people have. I would imagine that. Oh yeah, yes. By all means, feel free. That's pretty.
How about I use some luck? Let's use that and make it.
You've got what, about 60 some luck? I wouldn't worry about it for this. It's just enough that I'd say if it was like 5 or so, I'd say yeah, sure.
Just a little bit. All right.
But no, it's you're thinking about it and going, well, it's a Jacobean house up on the moor in the end of November. It's going to be chilly and drafty. It didn't feel like it. The temperature. You didn't notice the temperature changing during the episode.
Yeah. Maude will go and open the door to the room and just be like, I think it's time we turned in for the night. But does she feel that the hall is warmer, or it's just all the same?
The hall is maybe a little bit warmer.
Just a draft.
It may be the heat coming just through the doorways. Up further up is the two kitchens, and they've got the big. You would imagine the two big wood fire stoves, coal fire stoves, going day and night. So there's quite a bit of warm air coming from further up in the house, leaking through. And of course, there was a fire in the dining room as well. So the reception area has a little bit of warmth to it that maybe the drawing room doesn't.
Just a draft, Mr. Littleton.
No, lass, standard operating procedure is if we were to come into the drawing room, the maid would have lit the fire for us. It's just the way things are done. It doesn't make any sense that this would be cold and empty.
Make an intelligence check.
I swear I'm... Make a what?
An intelligence check.
An intelligence check.
Yeah, you can literally like see the gears turning of how she is trying to talk this away.
Where is my intelligence? There it is. Okay.
Top right. There you go.
Nope.
Okay.
Dumb as a box of rocks.
Maude can get. Maude making those sort of mental comments can make one as well, and this is commonly known as an idea roll.
Well, she's smarter than me, so I'll just defer to her.
Intelligence roll.
Yeah.
Bam.
Ooh.
Well,
Maude, whilst not normally paying attention to these things, did notice that there was a lack of soot and wood debris in the fireplace, and whilst there was wood stacked to the side, there isn't a whole lot. It looks to Maude as though the fireplace hasn't been used in some time.
this is quite odd.
Yeah, she stammers a bit. She's like, no, we probably just wanted there to be a fire and imagined it. The light of the smoke, of the cigar, it just all came together, and we're just tired. A lot of excitement today.
What's the name of the maid?
Hannah.
I'll have to have a word with Hannah about propriety and
light and fires.
He seems very disturbed. Perhaps it's time for us to turn in for the night. Would you like me to escort you to your room, Miss Vanderbelt? Just for safety's sake.
Yeah, she'll glance over at Hector, but then nod and extend her arm.
He prefers his elbow to her.
Mm-hmm.
She will take it. I believe Alfred and Mr. Tomkins had the right idea.
I do believe so. And I would escort her to her room and then go to my quarters.
Leaving.
Actually, no. George would take another lap around the house. Revolver drawn.
Okay.
Actually, no. He would go and retrieve his shotgun.
Escort Maude up to their room, since they have adjoining rooms.
Would you mind?
Oh, not at all, dear fellow. Not at all, dear fellow. Absolutely. It's terrible show. What?
Miss Vanderbelt, if it's all right with you, I shall take my leave, and I am going to I'm just going to take a short walk around to make sure that all is well. Nothing's
Careful,
amiss.
Mr. Littleton. Be careful.
I always am, lass. That's why I'm still alive. And he takes his leave and goes and retrieves his shotgun, and then goes outside and does another lap of the grounds. Just the main building, not the entire grounds, just the one where, I just want to make sure everything's locked up and none of the windows are open and there's no one prowling about and nothing is amiss.
Okay. Make a spot hidden roll as you do.
And while he's doing that, Maude is actually going to go knock on Alfred's door.
Oh, okay.
She just
Hard
wants to make sure
success.
he's okay.
Where did I put Alfred? I haven't put
You're going to give that boy a heart attack.
Poor Alfred.
I know.
Damn it. No. Fail. Sorry, I was looking at Sam's roll. Fuck. I cannot get this spot. Actually, can I push that? Can I push that spot hidden roll, please?
Sure. Oh, hard. Okay.
Much better.
Well, since you only needed a regular success, this means that it actually worked. We'll come to Maude in just 1 second. You notice just outside the library window, as you're walking down the gravel path towards the garden room, there appear to be scuff marks up again in the ground, just up against the window.
That's not right. I'd inspect them a little bit closer. Do they look like boot marks, claw marks? What does it look like made these scuff marks?
Let us look and see. Do we have? Yes. Make a track roll.
I can't look. Shit. That was so close.
So close. Use the luck.
Yeah.
Use your luck.
Well, if you feel you have a reasonable amount of luck, you could use it. I'll let you use 8 to make that.
How do I use luck again?
Basically, you just deduct however many luck you need to get the result you want.
Okay. So I'll use 8 luck.
Yep. 0 luck is basically you are dead, and there are times in the games when I do call for luck rolls, but other than that, and especially in a one shot,
I think that 8 is a fair cost.
Yeah.
So that's just a standard success, correct?
Yeah, just a standard success, but that's good enough for you to tell that there are multiple booted tracks up and away from the window over quite some period of time. You can't really tell how much, but you can see at least like 3 different sets of prints kind of covering over each other. Unfortunately,
and which window is that?
The library window.
Sorry, I was scrolled away.
No, that's okay. I'd moved the map because I was thinking the action was going elsewhere.
I think in that case, um, who else would I have at my disposal as far as the house staff goes to be able, like, definitely Henry. So he's the butler, correct? So he would
Yeah.
be in charge of the house staff. I would go and find Henry.
Well,
At that
that's
point in time.
probably his wife, Beryl, the housekeeper.
But as a gentleman, I would speak to him rather than her.
Indeed.
So I would go and notify and tell Henry what I found, and then I would actually post up in the library with my shotgun and my revolver and face the window, take a chair and face the window, and then just sit down and wait.
Okay. Are you intending spending the night awake if need be?
If need be, yes.
Okay.
A soldier keeps watch.
Indeed. And we will switch briefly over to the adventures of Maude Vanderbelt. Casanova Supreme.
Pretty much. Yeah, she knocks on Mr. Thompson's door.
You hear a muffled voice from inside say, "There's too much soup!" What? Oh, sorry. And shuffle, 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 shuffle. And, he opens the door and sees you and says, it's too late in the evening for painting now."
Well, I just wish to make sure that you had arrived in your room safely, Mr. Tomkins.
Oh, yes, yes. It's the most peculiar dream.
I do apologize for waking you, and I hope your dream was pleasant.
No, to see you is pleasant as well. And I shall. We will talk maybe tomorrow about the commissioning, but for now, I bid you a good night.
Yes, you Englishmen and your propriety. Yes, good night.
Oh, and he like closes the door. Like, did I just make a mistake? Like it just like closes really slowly, and you see doubt cast over his face because he's an idiot. Sweet, sweet
Yes.
idiot.
Such a
Nope,
sweet
she'll go
boy.
back to her room at that point.
Okay.
Oh, she'd probably check on like Rhonda, just everyone, to make sure they were all in their rooms before going to her own.
Yes, everybody appears to be in their various rooms, including Susan and Oliver. And with the exception of George, everybody snuggles into the depth of multiple down blankets and high cotton count sheets with a snug hot water bottle, which is, after all, what the English have is instead of sex. And eventually sleep comes to all, with the possible exception of George. But that is a tale for a different day. For I think that is a suitable point to draw the night's adventures to a close.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to go crawl into bed so hard right now after that
So
description.
cozy.
It was
So
like
cozy.
bed porn. It
I'm
was
so
so
jealous.
good.
I would get a hot water bottle. Ah!
That was great.
So I can only thank you, all my players. We should probably do a quick set of outros just to let our audience give our appreciation to as well. So thank you very much, everybody, for watching, and for those watching in the future on various VODs and YouTubes and so forth. We hope you've enjoyed this first part of the shooting party. Who knows what will happen next? I'm Mark Hugh Staffan, Staffan Shastram. I can be found here every other week doing something like this. I can be found lurking on Weaver Tale or Mini Terrain Domain or a number of other places. But how about James? Where can we find you, and what are you up to?
Mostly I am dad to an amazing kid who has, I think, been in the chat all night long. Hi, Aiden. You can find me here on Penny for a Tale on Sunday nights playing with Sam and the rest of the crew on Age of Ashes for the time being. As always, check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/pennyforatale. Check out our YouTube channel. Give us a like and subscribe. You know what to do. Hit that bell, hit that button, and come check us out. We'd love to have you. And Mitch, if you're listening, we love you.
Love it, Mitch. I'll go after that awkward noise I just made with my mouth. I'm Doc Rimbo. That's DOCRIMBO. Here on, I have my own channel here on twitch.tv. I do lots of streams. Lately, it's all been Wild RP, which is a Red Dead Redemption roleplay server. And I play a variety of characters on there, like a Russian playwright and a 12-year-old girl who's insists that she's 18, who smokes cigarettes and drinks whiskey. It's a lot of fun. And I'll probably be on tomorrow doing something along those lines. And otherwise, you can catch me in other streams. And I can't wait for the next part of this in 2 weeks. And my sweet, sweet himbo, my 1920s himbo, Alfred. That's all.
He's so cute. I'm Sam. You can find me as Scribbling Penny. We also have a game tomorrow by Pope Meets World, running Brotherhood of Shadows, which is a version of A Song of Ice and Fire role-playing game. It's going to be super amazing. We've been looking forward to it for a while now. And then on Friday, I run the beginner Pathfinder campaign called Thronebreaker that Staffan is also in as Pekka Kalamaki. So we're excited for that, to see what happens. And then, yeah, it's a whole bunch of amazing and good stuff. And make sure you check out the casting over on Weave the Tale. That will be closing January 23rd if you want to be in more of these shows. So just want to say thanks for watching, everyone, and have a good night.